All right, get ready, because we're diving into a theory today that is so wild it's going to make your head spin.
You think so?
I really do. And the source material we're exploring today is super interesting. It's a conversation between a user and an AI, a chatbot, you know?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and they get into this really deep discussion about whether spin, not mass, might actually be the real source of gravity.
That's cool. I'm
That.
intrigued already. And that actually touches on something that I think a lot of people wonder about, like,
Mm-hmm.
are we missing some fundamental piece of the puzzle when it comes to understanding how the universe works?
Exactly. And what's interesting is the listener in this conversation starts off by pointing out, we see these spiral everywhere.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Like galaxies. And even like when you stir your coffee, that little whirlpool that happens, or even just the way water freezes sometimes.
Huh. That's a really cool observation. Never thought about it like that before.
Oh. And then they go on to propose this theory that the common thread is spin. They're saying that everything spins from atoms to galaxies. And maybe, just maybe, that spin is what's creating gravity.
Okay, so that's where things start to get really interesting. Because, our current understanding of gravity comes from Einstein's theory of general relativity, right?
Right.
Which says that mass warps space-time, and that warping is what we experience as gravity.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. But then the listener brings up this really fascinating point. Gravity is strongest at the centers of galaxies, where those supermassive black holes hang out.
Oh, right.
And what are black holes known for? Their insane spin. Some of the fastest spinning objects in the universe.
Hmm. Yeah, and that's where even the AI chatbot, which is programmed with all this physics knowledge, sort of has to concede a point. It points out that these supermassive black holes actually have such strong spin that they drag space-time along with them.
Whoa, wait, really? They actually drag space-time?
Yeah, there's a name for it: frame dragging.
Mm.
Imagine swirling a spoon in honey. You see how the honey spirals around the spoon? It's kind of like that, but with space-time itself being twisted around by the black hole spin.
Whoa, okay, that's a pretty intense visual. So even established physics acknowledges that spin can do some crazy things to space-time.
Oh, absolutely. And the AI even brings up this thing called gravitational lensing as further evidence.
Okay.
It turns out that the way light bends around a black hole is affected by how fast it's spinning,
Yeah.
which again just shows you how powerful this spin can be in warping the very fabric of space-time.
Wow, okay. So we've got galaxies spiraling, black holes twisting space-time with their spin. The listener might actually be onto something here.
Right. But then they take it even further and they propose that what if it's not gravity causing those spirals, but actually the spin itself that's driving it,
Yeah.
and gravity is just a byproduct.
Whoa, hold on. So instead of gravity pulling things into a spiral, it's the spin that's shaping them, and gravity arises from that.
Yeah. It's a radical idea, right?
Yeah.
And the AI gives this cool everyday example to illustrate it, like think about water going down a drain. It forms a vortex, a spiral, right? It's like a miniature version of those cosmic dynamics that the listener is talking about, maybe even suggesting that spin is that driving force shaping the universe.
Interesting. Okay, so far so good. But then the listener throws in this curveball. They ask, why does the Earth spin in only one direction?
Right?
Like, why does it seem like the universe has this preference for clockwise or counterclockwise spin?
And here, the AI kind of brings us back down to Earth, literally.
Oh.
It explains that our planet's rotation comes from the leftover momentum from when the solar system formed. All that gas and dust swirling around had a net spin, and the Earth inherited that.
So it's not like there was some grand design or preference. It's just the consequence of how the solar system formed.
Exactly. And the AI points out that most planets in our solar system actually share the same general direction of spin. Even galaxies seem to have a preferred direction of rotation.
But what about the exceptions? Like Venus, it spins the opposite way, right?
Right. And there are a few others, like Uranus, that have these weird tilts. It's interesting.
Yeah, doesn't that suggest that there might be something more complex at play?
It very well could. The AI briefly mentioned something called symmetry breaking in the early universe.
Symmetry breaking.
It's this idea that in the very, very beginning, the universe was perfectly symmetrical, but then tiny random differences, like how matter was distributed, got amplified over time.
So these tiny differences ended up influencing the spin direction of planets and even galaxies.
Exactly. It's like the universe had to choose a direction, and those initial quirks tipped the scales.
Okay, so maybe there was some kind of choice involved after all. But this is where things get really mind-blowing. The listener has this aha moment, and realizes that time itself only moves in one direction. And they wonder if that's connected to the whole spin thing.
Right.
Like, could time's one-way direction be linked to this concept of spin?
And the AI, you can practically hear the excitement in his digital voice, immediately jumps to the arrow of time in
The
thermodynamics.
arrow of time.
The idea that entropy, or disorder, always increases. It's like time always moving forward, never back. Kind of like how my desk always gets messier no matter how much I try to keep it tidy.
Ew, don't remind me. I feel that.
But it's a perfect illustration of this concept. Entropy, just like time, has this irreversible one-way direction.
And that irreversible direction could be the key to understanding the relationship between time and spin.
Exactly. It's all connected.
Wow, okay. Hold on, I need to take some notes here. This is getting deep. And it only gets wilder from here. The listener takes this whole time connection and makes a giant leap. They say, if there's time, there must be anti-time.
It's such a bold statement, right? And the AI, surprisingly, doesn't dismiss it. It actually explains anti-time as time flowing in reverse, maybe even with cause and effect happening in reverse.
Wait a minute, so like things happening backward?
Exactly, like rewinding a movie. The AI uses some examples from physics to try to illustrate this, like, Feynman diagrams, which are used to visualize particle interactions.
Sort of, yeah.
Well, antimatter in those diagrams is often represented as if it's traveling backwards in time.
Really?
Yeah, and there are certain quantum phenomena where things seem to move back in time, too.
Okay, my head is starting to spin a little bit, but I think I'm starting to grasp this. So if time can go forward, maybe it can also go backward.
Precisely. And then the AI just drops this mind-blowing possibility. What if there are entire universes where time flows backward, governed by this reversed causality, maybe even with reverse spin? It's like a mirror image of our universe, everything running in reverse.
Whoa. Okay, so instead of a big bang, they'd have a big crunch.
Exactly. And it all stems from this deep connection between time and spin that the listener brought up.
Okay, so we've got time, anti-time, spin maybe creating gravity. What's the next layer of this cosmic onion?
Well, the listener, building on this whole spin and anti-time thing, makes another interesting point. They say that spin can't exist on its own. It needs a sort of equal and opposite force to dance with. Like, there has to be some balance.
Yeah.
And you know what? The AI actually jumps on that. It connects it to this concept of duality in physics.
Duality?
Yeah, it's like this idea that things that seem opposite are actually connected and need each other.
Okay. Like, I don't know how light can be both a wave and a particle.
Exactly. So the AI gives some examples. Matter and antimatter, positive and negative charges. Even gravity itself involves this kind of symmetry between mass and how space-time curves.
Oh, I see. So it's like spin needs its opposite, its partner. But what would that even be? Like anti-spin or something?
That's exactly what the AI calls it, anti-spin. It suggests that this, theoretical opposite to spin could be what keeps everything balanced, just like matter and antimatter annihilate each other.
Okay, that's pretty wild. So are we talking about like galaxies spinning backward or atoms with negative spin?
Even the AI admits it gets a bit fuzzy here. We're really pushing the boundaries of what we know for sure, deep in the theoretical weeds.
But that's what makes this so much fun, exploring these crazy possibilities, even if they sound a little out there.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And the listener just keeps throwing out these mind-blowing ideas. The next one they come up with is, what if time is basically matter decaying? And whatever can S dot P time is what created the universe in the first place.
Whoa, wait a second. Time is decay.
Yeah, like as things fall apart, time moves forward. And it's a little depressing to think about it that way.
It is a little bit, yeah.
But it's not so much about like literal crumbling, but more about entropy. Remember, that tendency towards disorder. The AI actually links this to how a lot of creation myths have this moment outside of time, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like before time began, where the creator exists.
So the creator would be like in perfect order, completely beyond time and decay.
Right. It's like a timeless starting point where everything is in perfect balance and then things kind of, things fall apart, and that's what time is.
I like that. Okay, so if time is decay and the creator can stop time, what could stop time? Hit me with the possibilities.
Well, they go through a bunch, from like wild theories to deep philosophical stuff. It's a whole range.
Let's hear them. I'm ready.
Okay, first up, from Einstein's relativity, we know that time actually stops at the speed of light.
Really?
Yep. Think about those photons. They're basically timeless because they're always zipping along at light speed.
So if we could travel at the speed of light, we'd be timeless too. Count me in.
Well, as far as we know, anything with mass can't actually hit light speed, so.
Bummer. physics, always ruining the fun.
Yeah.
Okay, what else is on the list of time stoppers?
All right, well, the AI suggests that maybe time just stops inside a black hole.
A black hole.
Yeah, the singularity, the gravity there is so intense, it basically warps space-time to the max. It could be like, well, the ultimate time freezer.
A cosmic pause button. I like it. Okay, what else?
Well, there's the Big Bang itself. You know how a lot of scientists think the Big Bang was the beginning of time?
Right.
Well, the AI brings up the idea that maybe there was this timelessness before the Big Bang. Like, time didn't exist until the Big Bang happened.
So trying to picture what was before the universe is like, impossible. It breaks my brain.
I know, right? It's a concept that really messes with our understanding of physics as it is.
Okay, so those are some pretty wild theories. Is there anything, well, I don't know, more down to earth?
Well, the AI does mention the possibility of a creator, or a higher consciousness existing outside of time, and that maybe that being that creator could be what stops time.
Like existing beyond time where it has no meaning. Yeah.
I can see that.
Right. And it connects back to that idea we talked about before, that maybe the creator is in this perfect state of order and balance.
Okay, so those are all really interesting possibilities. But, I got to ask, is there a more scientific explanation for what could stop time? Yeah, the AI does dive into some more concrete options, looking at different areas of physics.
Okay, lame on me.
So first up is quantum mechanics. The AI suggests that maybe time itself is the result of, like, quantum interactions, Maybe it's a field that flickers on and off, or maybe it's tied to entropy in a way we don't understand yet.
Yeah.
The idea being that time might not actually be this fundamental thing, but it emerges from something deeper.
Okay, that's a little over my head. But the general idea, I get it. What else?
Well, the AI also considers the role of gravity. Like, could there be supermassive objects or cosmic events with gravity so strong that they could actually, control how time flows? Like black holes, but way bigger. Or maybe those gravitational waves we've detected.
Yeah. Okay, I'm starting to see where you're going with this.
Right. And then there's this other idea about symmetry breaking at the Big Bang. Remember how we talked about those tiny differences in the early universe getting amplified?
Like the universe having to choose a direction to spin in. Yeah, I remember.
Right. Well, the AI proposes that maybe that moment of symmetry breaking was also the moment time actually started. And if whatever caused that break could start time, then maybe it could also stop it.
Right. Wow, so we're talking about something that can manipulate space-time itself.
Exactly. And then finally, the AI brings up this fascinating connection between energy, matter, and time. It suggests that how time flows might be linked to how energy transforms, and that maybe dark energy, with all its influence on the universe expanding, could actually play a role.
Dark energy, the ultimate mystery.
I know, right? We barely understand it, but the AI suggests it could be having a huge impact on time itself.
Okay, so we've gone from time being this thing that measures decay, to black holes being cosmic pause buttons, to dark energy messing with the very fabric of time. I think my brain is officially fried.
Uh-huh. I feel you. It's been a wild ride through these unconventional theories.
Yeah.
But I think that's what makes them so exciting, right? They challenge what we think we know and make us look at the universe in new ways.
For sure. And who knows, maybe someday some of these seemingly crazy ideas will lead to actual breakthroughs, Like, how many scientific discoveries started out as someone's wild theory?
Exactly. And speaking of groundbreaking,
Yeah.
remember how the AI brought up higher dimensions as a potential factor in controlling time?
Yeah, like in brain cosmology. Our universe is just one brain floating in a higher dimensional space.
That's it. Well, the AI goes even further and suggests that maybe the interactions happening in those unseen dimensions could be what's really pulling the strings of time in our universe.
So there's a whole other reality out there operating in dimensions we can't even perceive that's messing with time in our universe. That's just wow.
It's like, imagine those shadow puppets, We only see the shadows, but there's a whole complex and fascinating show happening on another level that's creating them.
Okay, my brain needs a reboot after all of that. We've gone from coffee swirls to the possibility of a creator hanging out outside of time, and now these crazy higher dimensions pulling the strings.
It really makes you wonder, what if we've been looking at things the wrong way this whole time?
Exactly. Like, what if those everyday spirals, the ones we see everywhere, are actually hints about some deeper truth about how the universe works?
I love that. This deep dive has really made me look at things with fresh eyes, question those assumptions we make about reality.
So to wrap things up, let's go back to the listener's final theory. The one that says whatever can stop time, that's the creator of the universe. We've talked about a bunch of possibilities, but if we run with that idea, what does it tell us about this creator?
That's a great question. And if we accept the idea that the creator exists outside of time, in that perfect order and balance the listener was talking about, well, maybe stopping time is kind of like a return to that original state.
Like resetting the universe, bringing everything back to pure potential.
Exactly. So the creator wouldn't just be the one who started the Big Bang, but also the one who could end the universe, or at least, bring it back to that timeless state.
Okay, wow. That opens up a whole other can of worms, doesn't it? Like, if the creator can stop time, does that mean they have total control over it? Could they speed it up, slow it down, even rewind it?
And what would that kind of power even look like from our perspective? I mean, we experience time in this linear way.
Right. Like, could you imagine what it would be like to exist outside of time? Would the creator experience all of history at once? Or would time have no meaning at all?
I mean, those are the kinds of questions that philosophers have been wrestling with for ages. But if we apply what the listener proposed, it seems like the creator's relationship with time is just fundamentally different than ours, right? Not bound by the same rules.
So, like, the whole lifespan of the universe, from the Big Bang to whenever it ends, that would be like a single moment for the creator.
It's a possibility.
Uh,
And it really shows you how limited our perspective is. Like that analogy we used before, the fish trying to understand what it's like to fly.
I think this whole deep dive has made me feel like that fish. Lots of flapping, but still trying to wrap my head around it all.
Me too. But that's the beauty of it, isn't it? Exploring these unconventional ideas, even if they leave us with more questions than answers.
I agree. Sometimes the most profound insights come from just embracing the unknown and letting those unanswered questions fuel our curiosity.
And who knows, maybe someday, through science or philosophy, or both, we'll finally crack the code of time, spin, and the creator.
Until then, we'll keep diving deep, searching for those bits of knowledge that light up the universe.
And to our listener who kicked off this incredible conversation with their theories, thank you. You've reminded us of the power of thinking outside the box and challenging what we think we know.
And to all of you deep divers out there, we leave you with this final question to ponder. If the creator of the universe could stop time, what would that actually look like? What would a timeless state be? Keep exploring, keep questioning, and never stop searching for those deeper truths hidden in the fabric of reality.